These are investments that promise to shape the lives of Americans for the better for generations to come. For starters, this proposal will make substantial investments in the development and deployment of clean energy to do our part in fighting the climate crisis while creating good, well-paying jobs across the country. Climate change is one of the most catastrophically dangerous challenges confronting our nation and the world. It's already causing increased wildfires, drought, flooding, and severe storms. If we don't take bold action, these phenomena will only intensify in the coming years as the planet continues to warm. Greener energy sources and job creation are just the start of our work to bolster the economy and strengthen communities. The pandemic placed a tremendous strain on cities and states, making it extremely difficult for them to provide the critical services of which residents rely. In April of 2020, I joined the U.S. Conference of Mayors for a roundtable discussion and heard directly from the mayors of Arlington, Texas, Dayton, Ohio, Columbia, South Carolina, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Santa Fe, New Mexico. They all had the same message. We need federal assistance to keep our cities afloat and recover from this crisis. The relief packages Congress passed over the last 18 months provided some crucial aid, but we can do more. The Build America bonds, which I have long championed, and advanced refunding bonds in this proposal will help states pursue public-private partnerships and make new infrastructure investments. As a former mayor myself, I know how impactful these financing tools can be in spurring development and creating more prosperous communities. We also seek to expand proven tax credit initiatives that encourage affordable housing and economic investments in areas that are most in need. Programs like the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, the New Markets Tax Credit, the Historic Tax Credit, and the new Neighborhood Homes Tax Credit are critical to attracting capital to underserved areas, especially for those who have been historically overlooked in communities like our tribes and territories. When combined, the whole of these credits is greater than the sum of their parts. The proposal in front of us ensures that every tax tool we have to benefit our community members and create good jobs will work together more effectively across our entire country. Over the past few months, we've seen a particularly powerful example of how the tax code can be used to benefit people's lives. We expanded the child tax credit in the American Rescue Plan and provided it to families through monthly advance payments that began in July. It has worked. That money allowed folks to keep a roof over their heads, to put food on the table, and to be able to pay for diapers, medicine, school supplies, and other interests that kids need. It lifted millions of children out of poverty and pumped life into the economy as more people could afford to spend money again, hence creating greater demand. Today, we are proposing to extend the expansion through the end of 2025 and make refundability of the credit permanent. The American Rescue Plan also expanded the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Dependent Care Credit, changes that further supported families and again rewarded work. We will consider our plan to make these expansions permanent to provide Americans with greater stability and financial security. Today isn't just about financial health, though. It's also about investing in people's physical health and ensuring they're able to have access to the care they need. 12 states have not expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, depriving more than 2 million people of access to health insurance and quality, affordable care. My staff alerted me to the following statistic yesterday. 99% of the children in Massachusetts have health insurance. 98% of the adults in Massachusetts have health insurance. More than the high 70 percentiles approve of the care they're receiving. Politicians at state levels are unnecessarily preventing vulnerable individuals from gaining coverage for political reasons. We propose investments to finally close the coverage gap and provide these Americans, 60% of whom are Black, Latino, Asian, or Pacific Islander, with meaningful health and economic gains. The American Rescue Plan included an expanded premium tax credit to lower health insurance costs, a change we now seek to make permanent. We will also help people keep more of their hard-earned money in their pockets by reducing prescription drug costs. Americans pay significantly more for their medications than their counterparts in other similar nations. That is simply not fair. Our proposal allows the Health and Human Services Secretary to negotiate lower prescription prices, providing people with tremendous savings. Taken together, these investments will dramatically improve Americans' abilities to support themselves and their families, to stay healthy and access affordable care when they're not, and to leave the planet cleaner, a better place for their children and indeed their grandchildren. I urge all of my colleagues to wholeheartedly embrace these proposals and the life-changing improvements they offer. The measures we are considering today do a lot of good, but they do it responsibly by raising the revenue needed to provide for the programs we propose. We are unafraid to secure revenue when our priorities demand it, and our plan does so in a manner that is sustainable, economically rational, and equitable. The individual income tax increases in this proposal come in the context of several decades of rising income and wealth distortions, as I have noted. And the tax system has not done enough to stop it. Instead, our tax system lost its progressive power at the top end because many of the wealthiest taxpayers in America have had a chance to play by different rules than those of ordinary wage earners. We are taking a significant step toward leveling the playing field. Specifically, we propose to increase the top individual rate to 39.6 and to increase the top capital gains rate to 25% and add a 3% surtax for individuals making over $5 million. The previous administration had no interest at the beginning in cutting that top individual rate. I know. They talked to me about it. It was only the complications created by the SALT tax that made them move in that direction. The 199A deduction will be capped at $500,000 so that it can remain targeted to small business owners that it was originally intended for. In line with President Biden's pledge and our party's values, we've ensured that none of these tax increases will affect households earning under $400,000. Over the past few decades, the average American family has weathered multiple storms of financial crisis and economic uncertainty, while the wealthiest among us have really enjoyed a smooth sailing, and the corporate sector has seen many boom times. This year, a record share of the S&P 500 companies beat their earnings estimates, which is terrific. And the market continues to set all-time highs, which is good. We applaud these achievements. But it makes fundamental sense that these large, profitable entities should help pay for the very infrastructure that makes their laudable success indeed possible. And so the committee's proposal will raise the corporate tax rate to 26.5. And by the way, I know the history of that issue as well. Recall that former President Obama was at 28%, and the Republicans, by and large, on this committee at the time were at 25%. That's the reality of it. We found a path at 26.5. That is still considerably lower than the 35% tax rate that was in effect in 2017. Of course, the success of America's corporations is due in no small part to their preeminence around the world. Our tax law plays a powerful role in shaping the global economy, and we want to continue promoting that economy and make sure that our company's global competitiveness stands without harmful incentives to move jobs overseas. To that end, I have publicly celebrated Secretary Yellen's success in negotiating the outline of a global minimum tax at the OECD. Remarkable what she did. The international provisions of this subtitle will set a model for the kind of minimum tax that we expect our peer countries to adopt. We propose increasing the GILTI rate to meet or exceed the OECD threshold, rationalize the BEAT so that it only applies to companies that make base eroding payments to low tax jurisdictions, and cleaning up aspects of the TCJA that were frustrating for many taxpayers, like the treatment of carry forward and losses. Finally, we take serious that no matter how well designed our tax law is, it will mean little if the IRS doesn't have the resources to enforce it. To that end, we propose a long overdue investment in the technology and human capital needed for complex audits. No one likes raising taxes, but thanks to the strength of our economy, we can afford to do this. But we cannot afford to skimp on the critical investments throughout this proposal.